Real stories from the team in Northern California's country radio station. Jen, Dano, and Amber and Tanner in the morning. You are inside Froggy 92.9.
Welcome inside Froggy 92.9. I'm Dano, and I'm joined by the whole Froggy family. Come on, let's make some noise. Who's feeling good? Who's feeling good in the 97.7 The River Studio?
Wow. We just take over anything we need when we want it.
Yeah, we just kick down the door and say, get out of here, it's Froggy time.
We've got, that is exactly what we do. We've got 5 stations here at 1410 Neotomas Avenue in Santa Rosa, just off of Farmers Lane, right across from what used to be Johnny Garlic's, right across from what used to be AAA, right across from what used to be Sizzler, Grillin' and Chillin'. But we're still here.
All right, you're the one that said we were running out of time.
Depending on what's going on in the building, sometimes we end up in different studios. We typically record in KSRO. There is breaking news right now. There's a fire outside Guerneville. So KSRO is covering that fire. So 97.7 The River, the Danny Wright Show. Nice enough to let us be in his studio today. So thank you, Danny Wright.
Thank you, Danny.
This is such a different studio than ours. I feel like it doesn't smell this way, but it looks like it smells like hand sanitizer in here.
It's definitely clean, and our studio isn't dirty.
Yeah, I think it's just the hardwood floors that's throwing me off. I'm not used to that.
The carpet in the Froggy studio is slightly old. Yeah. It was old when I started here 12 years ago.
That could use some work.
We got it clean, didn't we?
That's true, we did.
So we always tell one story each on the podcast, and we always come up with an interesting way to figure out who is going to tell their story first from behind the scenes here at the station. And so I think today, what are we going to do? What should we do? Give me one, Jen. Give me something. How should we do it?
I have nothing.
You have nothing. I shouldn't. Tanner.
The first letter of the deodorant you use.
Oh, well, that's perfect.
And then A to Z, whatever.
Sure. Okay. I use Tom's of Maine.
I use Estee Lauder deodorant.
I'm pretty sure I use Degree.
I also use Degree, but I use Degree Clinical.
Yes, the one in the white.
I think because I'm a dude, the one...
Oh, no, I use the dudes.
The dude one.
I sweat.
Apparently, you're supposed to put that on at night before you go to bed, and I didn't know this until recently, and I've been sweating through every single shirt that I own for like 2 weeks, and I haven't known why, but now I know.
Knowing is half the battle.
So we have... I'm a T, you're a... What did you say?
I'm a D.
D, Degree?
Degree.
And Jen's Degree, and you're an E. So, but your Degree, Tanner's Degree Clinical?
Yep.
And you're just regular Degree?
I honestly have no idea. I just buy the bulk pack at Costco because I know what it looks like and I know that I like it.
Well, I feel bad that Tanner has to be Degree Clinical. So how about you go first?
Tanner does too. Well, my story, it's kind of all about what's happening right now with the thunderstorms and this crazy weather. I guess I had this kind of privileged approach to firestorms, from evacuations to your power being out, because I was talking about it with my girlfriend, and I was like, the world is in complete chaos right now, and I have no idea how I feel about it. I mean, there are non-wet hurricanes happening in the Midwest. Like, what even is that? And in the South, there was just a bunch of hurricanes recently. And growing up in the Pacific Northwest, we never had anything like that at all. We had one earthquake when I was a kid called the Nisqually earthquake. And people still talk about where they were during the Nisqually earthquake. And it's kind of just this awkward situation where I never had to deal with anything my entire life. Like, there's not even any poisonous animals or plants. The state of Washington is basically a giant sleeping bag. That feels completely safe. So I guess through my experience with Kincaid and everything else, my eyes are being open to not only here in California, we have to deal with stuff like this, but all across the country. And I'm just kind of coming to a realization of, oh my God, I kind of had a really privileged life because I didn't have to deal with anything. And so I guess my question is, are you used to these thunderstorms and these power outages and everything yet? Or does every single time that something comes up, does it feel new and still kind of crazed? Or are you just at this point now where it's like, oh, well, we're dealing with another power outage?
I think as far as the power outages go, that's kind of something that's happened enough times in my lifetime. Like, oh, the power went out because there was a bad storm. Like, that's definitely something that's just like, if our power goes out, our power goes out. But I was talking with my wife and my neighbor. I've lived in California for 35 years and I've never experienced the thunderstorm that we experienced, at least here. Like I have when I've been in South Dakota, I have when I've been in Colorado, but nothing like that I can ever remember happening in California. And then as far as the wildfires, I think because we here, since we are in the broadcast industry, we get so immersed in it and it becomes so much a part of our lives that we're like jaded and immune to the shock of it all. It's almost just fatigue.
Do these thunderstorms and fires that are popping up in Napa County and here in Sonoma County now, is it the same feeling than when Kincaid happened? Or of course it's at a different scale, but is that same kind of fear factor still there?
Definitely still worried about it, but like I feel a lot more prepared, like slightly more prepared. Again, I think a lot of it's just fatigue. It's like I'm exhausted of being exhausted about being scared of what to do in case of a fire.
Yeah.
I mean, with respect to the fire, it's just sort of like, you literally can feel like all of Sonoma County like cinching their belt up and they're like, time to ride. Like it's just, and getting ready for it like it's a season, like it's Christmas. We're just like, okay, here it comes, and that's never been a part of life around here. And yet, part of it is also, one, our job, Jen, but two, I do remember when I was a kid, you'd hear about a big forest fire or you'd see it in the sky, but it was trapped in the newspaper and you throw the newspaper away. And it just doesn't exist after that in 1993. You just sort of hear about it.
Or now you see a flame, you can take a picture of it and share with 584 people on command.
Get live video of what's happening right now in a valley in Napa that I would have never seen in my life. I mean, even Kincaid, to some of the areas, to get to some of the areas that were affected by Kincaid was a trek. So, which isn't to demean or diminish anything that's happened with any of those fires and say that they don't matter. I'm just saying, as far as the impact to you as a person, we just have so much exposure to so much. With the distance between the terror and yourself is much shorter than it's ever been, and yet it's not actually a threat. You just get the terror. It's sort of weird.
Amber, did you have any kind of like the natural weird things that you had to deal with where you grew up?
Basically, tornadoes, thunderstorms, and hurricanes. So it's completely different. And it's funny because I was talking to someone that lives here and they were like we're all kind of afraid of each other's own natural disasters. Because I was like, a fire? Wait, excuse me, a fire NATO? Like that's a new thing that happened recently. So that was in Southern California, right? So Death Valley specifically. That
happened here though too.
The fire NATO?
In Tubbs Fire.
Oh gosh. See, it's terrifying. You can't see with the thunderstorms, you just like stay inside, and we had the infrastructure to prepare us for thunderstorms, and it was, hot and humid, not dry.
How often would you have thunderstorms in Georgia?
So basically thunderstorms are prevalent in the South in the summer, and we would have a thunderstorm every single day in the summer. And it would be kind of like it was yesterday, where it would like storm and rain for like 20 minutes and then stop. And then it might like rain again later, but you would just go inside, it would rain, and then you go back outside and you'd be like, oh my God, like there's smoke coming off the asphalt because it was so hot, and then the rain was cold, and then it's really humid and gross. But then, if you live on the coast, you also experience the hurricanes and like evacuations and flooding and all that annoying stuff. But I mean, we're just prepared for that stuff because it's been like that since the beginning of time, I guess. I don't know. I just still think it's not as bad as what everyone's gone through here. Does that make sense?
Can I address the elephant in the room? Because an earthquake will mess you up bad. A real earthquake, when that hits, that's going to be like I feel like that's all of this on steroids. It's going to, because it will then cause fires. And so it's like, and just the ruptures and, that 89 quake was serious. The Loma Prieta. I don't know how much you've heard about that, but you've heard about that at all?
Wait, is that the one that like collapsed the bridge? And
yeah, that was the big
that one happened during the World Series, right?
That was the World Series earthquake, and you had a double-decker bridge, the Bay Bridge, which is no longer there in that form. The top decker crashed down into the bottom decker, and you had people who were trying to still jump it because they didn't know what to do. It's the freeway, among many, many other things. So that's the one that's going to probably happen at the end of the year, just to cap off 2020 real nice. But I feel like
Don't put that evil on
I'm
us.
just saying.
I feel like
that's
just because it's 2020, we aren't as freaked out about these little fires that are popping up everywhere and these thunderstorms and this crazy weather. Just because it's almost like, do you guys feel numb to a certain extent?
Well,
Where
yeah.
like all this is happening. If this happened to me back in 2018 in Seattle, I would be a nervous wreck. But I just think because of all the experiences that, we've had in this, year and a half, I think I'm kind of dull to it.
we're also on high alert because of COVID. I mean, it's like you're already tense, and then it's like, hey, additional zombies are showing up. You're like, yeah, I know. I've already got these zombies.
Yeah, like there's already 50 zombies in front of me. Like I'll get to it when I get to it.
Well, and I think too, at this point, we're so prepared to jump on a mic and like report on anything that's happening. So it's like, yeah, it's right now it's a little fire, but like, is it gonna? I mean, they jump, they move, they grow. Like, so you don't really know. It's like you almost can't get freaked out when it's a small fire, because if you do it for every small fire, you're going to be cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah, it's like the boy that cried wolf.
Well, yeah, and you just don't want to stress yourself out. But then you're also like, okay, but I also still need to be prepared if this little fire does turn into a big fire, but I can't be stressed about it. I don't know if that makes sense.
It is what it is. That's kind of
I'm gonna
where I'm
stab
at.
you.
and this is how stressful it is for us to try and support and cover it. Just imagine if you were trying to stop it.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine having to be the one to allocate the resources to know, okay, is that going to burn out on its own? Is that, and all the PTSD that they go through fighting those things.
I got a call from Amber and I's buddy Dominic from Middletown. He was basically like, I'm going to work against the fires for the first time after having a couple of weeks off. I could return tomorrow. I could return in a month from now. I really have no idea what's going to happen. I'm not going to know until I get there. And it's just that idea of, well, it's happening. and it seems so nonchalant to me, which is surprising.
I think it's a defense mechanism, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that if we think about it too much, we're, like I said, you're going to go like crazy being stressed out about it. Yeah. And I think it's just a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
I will say that from my experiences seeing firefighting up close, and I've not seen all of it, this is just what I have seen. My vision of what it was like was that you have like a big wall of flames, and then you have all the firefighters around it, and they're just like, okay, water, go! Like, it's just that level of like freak out.
You think of like Chicago PD and stuff
That's
like
just
that.
naturally what you think, and they just run screaming at it until they put it out. And from what I saw in the areas that I saw, this was mostly in Kincaid. Actually, it was all in Kincaid. They're walking along and they're checking, and there's no talking even going on. You don't realize what a big area 10,000 acres is until you're on foot in it, and like the various nooks and crannies of all the ravines and crevasses, and it just. So they're just kind of walking through, and some of them are taking breaks, and so it was interesting to see a little bit of that up close. Some of that intense stuff does happen, but from what I saw, the times I've been around, it's not been that level of freak out.
Yeah.
I always like to try to empathize, and I try to get in their heads, and I try to get in a firefighter's head, and I guess I was just sort of comforted to see that they weren't out there like bleeding from their eyes from what I saw, which doesn't mean that they're not working, but it just, I couldn't imagine that would be sustainable to be turned up to 11 for 55 hours.
It's probably like how a lot of people think we have like vinyl records in our hands, like putting it on a turntable and like doing all this crazy stuff. But sometimes Tanner just is eating a Crunchwrap Supreme in the office.
Exactly. We're not sitting here like, get out of my studio. Not enough room for you and my ego. All right, let me do this.
What are you talking about? That I do that every day to salespeople.
Well, Tanner, thank you for sharing. Sorry I brought you this cruel, thunderous place.
No, I'm glad. I'm very glad I'm here. I feel like I've grown up so much in the past year and a half that I've lived here, and you don't realize what the real world is like until you have some of these experiences. Like I said, I was in a sleeping bag for 22 years, and I feel like now I am finally out in the wilderness.
Jen, you also have degree deodorant. What's your story?
My story is actually related to fire, actually. I was sitting on the couch the other night, and we were talking about updating our go bag and like making sure like we have everything that we need going into fire season. And my wife says, "Well, what are we doing with Moo?" And I'm like, "My child? She's coming with us."
Your cat.
Yeah.
My cat. And she's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, what do you mean? What are we doing with
Just gonna set her loose and say, "Go, kitty." Like, no.
Like, if they say you have to evacuate, we're taking the cat and our go bag and we're finding somewhere to go. Like, I don't understand why this is even a question.
Yeah.
And that was just really my story, that I just was shocked. Like, even like 20 minutes later, I was like, I still can't believe you asked me whether or not we were going to take the cat. I'll take the cat before I take you.
During Kincaid, one thing that was keeping people going while we were broadcasting all night and yada, 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 was the fact that there's 2 little cats in Amber and I's office. It was that first time you don't realize like how hard it is to get a cat in a cage. When you're like, you have to go in the cage. This isn't like you going to the vet. This isn't you like having to go get neutered. Like, this is worse than getting neutered. You have to go. When Kincaid happened, my girlfriend took our cats to Dublin where her aunt lives. It's just kind of weird. You don't realize cats can be like as mobile as dogs. Or a dog, you can just like, all right, hop in the car, Remy, you know?
I'm taking the cat.
Yeah.
I'll take only the cat if that's my only option.
I'm like, I'll take the cat before I take you. Like,
that's
you
what
better.
I said. That's exactly what I said.
Jen, what was her response?
She just was like, "Oh yeah, oh okay," and then she was like, "Well, what if it's just recommended that we evacuate?" And I was like, "Well, I'm not evacuating until I have to, because if they say they recommended that, then that's when I'm like, okay, we have the time to really make sure that I have everything." But when we're evacuated, the cat's coming. Like that just was a dumb question.
That would be a real deal, Holyfield. If from where you are in Santa Rosa to be evacuated, I mean, that would be.
Yeah, we don't even lose power. We're pretty lucky.
Yeah. Unlike Tanner.
Where I am the first one to always lose power and the last one to get it back. Gotta love Bennett Valley.
Bennett Valley.
Bennett Valley. All right, I just wanted to share that in case anyone was curious. I will take my cat before I take another human being and or clothes.
I respect that.
I think the question that you're nipping at here is, has your significant other ever just said something that's made you just aghast? That you just couldn't even believe?
I'm sure Cole has said a few things.
Amber?
Do you have an hour? I really can't think of anything right now. We've all met Cole, but I mean, just going off that, I was worried about what I would do with my dog. Because Dana was like, "Come stay with me." And I was like, "But I have a puppy." He was like, "I have 2 children. Like, it's fine. Just come." And, he's really hyper. So I was worried. But luckily enough, Dana was like, he can just stay in Harvey's room and in his kennel. It's just like, don't let him hurt the children. Like, okay, we'll figure it out.
I can imagine a world of Remy getting excited and just like, boop, knocking Harvey over.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Are you kidding?
But he was, I think he was good. And it's scary. You're like, what am I going to do with this creature that I love so much? And I want him to be comfortable. But, like, he slept on the air mattress with us and just dealt with it.
Yeah, you can't explain to animals, like, hey, there's a wildfire happening. Like, dog would be like, what is a fire? Yeah. I have no idea what that is. We watch Chicago PD sometimes, and that's my only reference.
Well, my cat's dead, so I don't know. I don't know what else I can say about this topic.
R.I.P.
She's talking about getting another one, though.
Really?
I hope this one's a little nicer. I'm just kidding.
Talking about it. Well, Jen, thank you for sharing your story. I appreciate it. Amber, you were, what was it again?
Estee Lauder.
Estee Lauder.
It's like a roll-on deodorant. I don't know. My grandma buys it for me.
Isn't that a makeup company?
It is, but they make this really awesome roll-on deodorant. It works very well.
Why does it sound like your deodorant wears Gucci?
I don't know. I don't know. My grandma seems like I was like really sweaty in high school, hormones and what all. I don't know why I'm talking about this right now, but nothing would work. And she bought me this, and for some reason it works. So
I feel you.
Yeah, you find that perfect.
I had that with the normal degree for 15 years of my life, and now it just stopped working.
That's what I was going to say. One day, out of the blue, that ain't going to work anymore.
You got this crap.
You know what the secret is? I actually do. I switch up my deodorant. So sometimes I try to wear like Secret, like once or twice a week. But most of the time I wear Estee Lauder.
When I was in high school, my dad was like, "You're not gonna smell ever. I got you this stuff, Mitchum."
Yeah. Oh yeah. I tried that too.
Mitcha, it's like this clear liquid. Do you know it, Tanner?
I put it on. I have a really morbid story about that specific. I put it on and it made my armpits blister.
Yeah, because it's got the most aluminum of any of the deodorants, and
Yeah.
that's supposedly what gives you Alzheimer's. Supposedly, depending
You'll
on,
never smell.
Yeah.
I would rather forget that I smell.
Sorry, Amber. We hijacked your story.
Wouldn't be the first time.
We started talking about deodorant. I got
Right.
excited.
I hijacked my own story. I got excited about deodorant. I'm sure a lot of people relate. So last night I get this Instagram DM from my friend Michelle, and what it says is, I just look at my phone and it says, "Ugh, Virgos are the worst." And I laughed so hard because Tanner's a Virgo. And I sent it to him, and I was just like, "Look at this." And he was like, "Dang, Michelle, hit me where it hurts." Like, ouch. And I was like, "Well, she's probably kidding." And obviously it's like not true. And then Tanner told me that he actually relates to being a Virgo.
Yeah.
And over time, I've actually started to relate to being an Aquarius, sort of. So I was wondering, what's your sign? Do you relate to it? And if you don't know anything about your sign, I got you. You're a Cancer, Dan.
You look at. Okay. How did you know that?
He sure is.
Wait, how did you know that?
Because your birthday is July 10th, and that's
okay.
Cancer, right?
I don't know anything about my sign. I've looked at it before, and I've been like, "Oh yeah, that's me." But then I've looked at other signs. I'm like, also me.
Because you have a sun sign, a moon sign, and a rising sign.
Isn't that convenient? So, tell me about myself. I mean, am I actually a Cancer in your opinion?
I think so. I think you probably have a little bit of Leo in there somewhere.
Oh,
What do you
yeah.
think, Jen? Yeah.
What is? Well,
Okay,
let's start with
sorry.
Cancer.
Okay,
What's
let's
Cancer?
start with Cancer. So Cancer is a water sign. It's the crab.
Yes.
But typically, Cancers are seen as like the mom and pop bears of astrology. But some strengths to Cancer are like you are tenacious. You also love really hard.
Yes.
And you're very outgoing and
Passionate.
eccentric. No, I'm trying to figure out how to say like maybe what like your weaknesses would be.
Just say
and how
it.
you like would relate to them. I don't know. What do you think, Jen?
You don't want to tell your boss how he sucks? Is that is that it?
No, it's not that you suck. Like, it's that you're sensitive
Oh yeah.
and like you get emotional. I'm not saying you do. That's like a weakness. It's like sensitivity, and you get emotional and things like that. But that's also a symptom, not a symptom.
It's a symptom of your sickness of being a Cancer.
Yeah.
But I think Cancers are great, and I have a friend who's Michelle, my friend who's really into astrology. That
She
texted
hates
me
me,
last night.
apparently.
She is a Cancer.
Wait, I don't want to stick on me too long, but you said Leo too. What's my Leo that you think is in there?
Leos, they love attention.
No.
Never. Dano not.
I'm sorry.
No.
He just wants attention.
Move on to somebody else. This thing's full of it. This is,
Have
I gone too
I
far?
do a whole post about what shorts I'm wearing at Country Summer, but I don't want anyone to pay attention to me.
I
Pretty
like
sure
the-
at Country Summer you said, I'm not wearing underwear under these shorts.
so that makes me a Leo.
There's the sensitivity.
All right, Jen, come on. What about your son?
I'm a Gemini. I don't know a ton about it, but two personality seems pretty on point for me. I'm like what are those little candies? Sweet and sours?
Accurate.
Yeah, sour.
Accurate. Sour Patch Kid.
Yeah, first I'm sour and then I'm sweet.
Warheads.
Dude, warheads, man. Well, the thought of eating a warhead right now gives me heebie-jeebies.
The back of my tongue literally just retched.
Oh, my whole mouth. Ugh. But I don't know the full spectrum of my sign, so
No, you nailed it. Like,
okay, that's what I thought.
Gemini is like, I could see how you relate to being a Gemini, because there are like two parts of your personality where a Gemini can be like a really fun and like sociable person, and they adapt well to other people, which is also strength for Cancer as well. Jen can be, maybe she'll be fun and sociable in one moment, and then or another day or another second, she wants to be alone and she just wants to be at her house and with her cat, and she's serious.
All right,
so
there might be something to this astrology stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Tanner, what are some ways that you relate to being a Virgo?
I don't know much about being a Virgo other than kind of socially
I
awkward.
thought you had a girlfriend.
Huh? What?
I don't get it, Dan.
It's a virgin joke.
Oh.
Please explain to the children in the room.
Draw my attention to myself over here.
I don't know much about Virgos, and I probably need to be enlightened. Other than that, we're more selfish than other signs. That's my basic understanding, and we care about ourselves, and that a little bit more. Like we're the center of our own attention all the time, and that we're just kind of awkward. That's my basic understanding, in that we don't deal with conflict very well.
That's accurate.
When I was texting Tanner last night, and he was just like, "Yeah, Virgos are the worst, but I relate to it a lot." And I was like, "What? You relate to being really hardworking and loyal?" He was like, "Are those characteristics?" And I was like, and I think you should relate to that, like all the goodness that comes with it, like this astrology sign. Even if it's like you don't believe in it, you can look at it and be like, yeah, I am hardworking and I do have a lot of strength. And maybe sometimes I might be overly critical of myself, which is a weakness of a Virgo. But, these are things I can do to shape my personality and change. And
it's hard. It's hard to look at the positives of Virgos when like everything's on the internet. Like, oh, Virgos are the worst. I'm like, well, God, I'm glad I came out 2 weeks early to be a Virgo.
How dare you?
Right? I'm like, if I came out at the right time from my mom, maybe I would be a totally different person. Who knows?
Isn't that weird? I think your name has a bigger impact on you than your sign. You ever met a homeless guy named Benedict?
Me personally?
Have you ever met a homeless guy
No.
named Benedict?
But I've also never been to the UK.
I'm just like if you gave someone a name,
That's like saying, have you ever met a Tanner that wasn't wearing New Balances?
like
Just a thought.
like Kevin Williams will never be president ever.
I'm going to find a Kevin Williams. I'm
Yeah.
going to turn him into a president.
That director Takeda Wakatiti, I apologize, I don't know his name. Wakiti. He directed Thor Ragnarok and a couple of Mandalorian episodes. His name is like Taika Waititi. I don't apologize. I do not know his name, but it's a very like unique name. If he was named Dave Jones, like no one's hiring that guy.
Like maybe if he was an accountant.
That's why Dwayne Johnson had to be The Rock.
The Rock.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Like
So-
Steve Austin had to be Stone Cold Steve Austin to be cool. I don't know why I'm only thinking of wrestling. I've never watched wrestling a day in my life.
like Sasha Felix is gonna make it more than like Karen Cooner.
That's why it's always weird to look at like celebrities' real names because
Yeah.
like isn't Bruno Mars's name like
His name's Peter.
Peter?
Yeah. Yeah.
Peter, whatever his last name.
I'm pretty sure his last name's Fernandez. Peter Fernandez. Could you imagine talking to Uptown Funk? Hey, it's Mark Ronson and Peter Fernandez.
See what I
it
mean?
actually might be
Yeah.
Hernandez, but
You see what I mean? So
Oh, even better. It's Peter Gene Hernandez.
Gene.
Coming up next, Peter Gene with Uptown Funk.
I think I totally see your point, but I think we're starting to lose that a little bit. I think people are becoming more comfortable with their names. Also, I think parents are like considering what they're naming their children a lot more than what we'll name him Billy.
Yeah.
Like I think now people take more time and consideration of my kid's going to be the next Peter Hernandez.
Exactly. We've been naming a bunch of future stars rather than Bill Thompson Jr. The second.
Ooh, I have an idea. If you had a child tomorrow, like Umbrella Academy style, what would the name for that child be right now? The name of your next child.
Jordan, boy or girl.
Nice.
is there a reason for that?
I already.
I really like that name, and I think it is good for boys and girls as like a kind of a gender neutral name.
Yeah.
I also like the name Aiden for a boy,
Ooh.
but Jordan would be my first. We're never having kids. Katie hates that name anyway, but I would still name a kid Jordan.
I already did this twice. I'm not doing it a third time. Nolan and Harvey are pretty good names,
Yep.
so I'm gonna stick with that.
Yes, I remember the process.
They were both were born for 2 days each with no name, while we fought about what the name would be.
You know, my parents didn't register my birth certificate 2 months after I was born. Fun fact.
So, what's your real birthday?
I have no idea. It could be August 31st. I have no idea.
You have a while to do it, right?
Yeah,
It's
you
like-
do have some time.
It's like a year or something ridiculous like that.
I got my birth certificate. And I was like, you guys really stretched this out like a little too far for my liking.
I threw it off on a name tangent. Sorry, I feel like the name is a little kind of similar to the name is like a secondary astrological sign. It also determines a lot about who you are, I think.
If anyone wants to know what I'd name my child,
I do. What would you name your child?
It's, you know what's funny is everything I've wanted to name my child, someone's beat me to it in my family.
Dang.
And I it's just like, I'm running out of names, guys. I'm getting older and I'm running out of names. But like, my grandfather's name is William, my dad's name is William, and my brother's name is William. So I feel obligated to like have, for him to at least have that middle name. And it's for a girl. I would like to name like a girl something cool like Ryan, like a boy's name. So she'd be really cool.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like Ryan would be it, but I haven't really thought about it much. What do you have some picked out, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Benjamin for a boy. If I pop
Good.
out a boy, that's Benjamin Edward Chambers is the name.
You won't be popping out anything.
Definitely not. At least I hope not.
Popping out some joints. I mean, you know, because he's old. Not marijuana. Let me backtrack. My joke's not very good. But anyway.
And if I have a girl, I haven't even, I mean, I've pitched this one before, but I don't think it'll happen. Lennon for a girl.
That's
I
a
like
good one.
that.
Yeah. But
I gave you that idea.
Didn't
Yeah.
Thomas Rhett just do that?
Yeah.
did he?
Yeah.
Remember? Tanner doesn't remember any conversations we
No.
ever have, apparently.
I don't remember what we talked about on the show this morning.
I also told Dano that if he has a girl, he should name her McClane after John McClane because he loves Die Hard so much.
I almost might have a third child because of that.
Don't do it. You can't
McClane!
time as it is.
McLean!
But to make you feel better, Dano, because I know with your horoscope, I was feeling like maybe your astrology, I was feeling maybe
I'm
hurt your feelings
sensitive.
a little
I'm
bit.
sensitive.
An Aquarius, I can relate to the weaknesses. An Aquarius is supposed to be like this new, unique and creative person, but the weaknesses are that they're temperamental, moody, and aloof. And I relate to all of those things. So I hope you feel better.
I do. I feel bad because I feel like I cut you off in the middle of your story, so I'm sorry.
Well, now it's your turn, right?
It is. I'm the last one, so
Dano, you use Tom.
I like your robot voice.
Thanks. I've been practicing it in case I need it for a very important commercial.
So my story is I wanted to talk a little bit about Ellen DeGeneres. Ellen DeGeneres. Ellen DeGeneres. Ellen the Ellen Show. At the Ellen Show. Can we talk about her?
Yeah.
In that whole situation. Is anyone else interested in that, or is it just me?
I'm absolutely interested. It's one of the few kind of tabloidy stories that I've been following lately.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a very long process, which is kind of weird for stories like this because stories that typically pop up in pop culture, it's like, it's here today, it's gone tomorrow. This keeps just happening in a slow and steady process.
So I first heard about it I saw Eloy from Hot 1017, does mornings on Hot 1017, good friend of ours. He posted about it. And he was just like, Ellen Show being investigated for toxic workplace. And it was just like a screaming emojis, like total shock. And I was like, wow, that's shocking. And so obviously very interested to see, well, just how bad is it? And I think what's been really interesting is to see the one that just set me off the other day was I've been reading some of the articles. So Brad Garrett has said it's the actor from Everybody Loves Raymond, said it's well known. It's not a good time to go on our show. Leah Thompson, the actress, also said the same thing. And so I'll take that seriously. But this was an article in the Daily Mail. That's what I get for reading the Daily Mail, but whatever. And it's kind of a tabloidy publication in the UK. It was an interview with someone who'd done a segment with her, a fan who'd done a segment with her. And the complaints were that she was sort of sullen between takes and just generally she didn't have a good time. And it's like, I couldn't take it anymore. And I jumped on my socials because 500 or 600 people needed to know what I thought. And
Talk to the masses.
it's yeah, my masses.
He was needing some attention.
I was.
Yeah. And he was sensitive if anyone disagreed.
Y'all gotta stop.
I just couldn't take it because it's just so hilarious to me. Depending on how the world feels, we're going to eviscerate or illuminate Ellen DeGeneres. And it's like happening again. 1995, she comes out. She ruined her career. She dropped a bomb on her career by telling the world who she was. That show ended. She couldn't get anything. She said she was in the lowest place in her entire life. And she only was able to drag herself back up by writing and doing stand-up and focusing on herself and her craft and this positive thing of who she was. And it helped change the world. I mean, literally helped change the world and helps build this show. And she gets Dory. And it's sort of like, and the pinnacle moment is she just got, was it an Academy Emmy? What was that Lifetime Achievement Award that they just gave her? Golden Globe?
I don't know. I know she got the presidential Medal of Honor from Obama, too.
I think it was the Golden Globes.
Probably.
And they gave her a really, like, she gave a really funny speech. And it's like, okay, like, this is...
She released a comedy special again.
This is like, okay, the story's in it. With like, Robert Downey Jr.'s done with drugs. He's Iron Man. And now he's done with Iron Man. And, like, this is through the process. And it's like, nope. We're having a pandemic and we're kind of bored. We feel like crucifying this person again. And like what's being leveled against her from some fans is like that she's not making out with them between takes. That she's kind of an asshole. Like that's the complaint.
To my understanding of reading stories, the stories have been more focused on producers and people that have worked on the show. She fired 3 of her biggest producers this week. Well, what's your take on that compared to fan experiences rather than... Because I've heard that sometimes the people that smile the brightest on the camera are the biggest jerks off the camera.
Correct. And that's really what is part of my point. Kind of all of these people are that way. One, what do you expect from them? This is a very weird job that they have to have millions of people recognize your face. I mean, and we've all seen some fans go way above and beyond, way over the line with artists.
I have banned people.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if that happened to you enough in your life, couldn't you imagine you become a little jaded and reserved, except when it was time to act? 1. 2, people are not on. Who doesn't have a bad day? 3, many other talk show hosts specifically. David Letterman was
he was a monster.
Very, very cold. Didn't talk to guests beforehand. When they would come out, walk out, that was the first time that they would meet him, and the only time they would meet him. And by the way, let me point out that he literally had a sex den above the stage that he would take one of his assistants to, and he had a relationship with her in the studio, like in the theater.
I think it was below.
So my point is like, so we're holding Ellen to some like double standard where she can't be mean.
Well,
doesn't that seem sexist?
I don't even think that her quote unquote being mean is the actual issue. I think the bigger issue is the behind the scenes sexual misconduct and the racism that people have experienced. Again, none of those complaints have come from Ellen. So it's kind of two sides for me, because I agree with you. You also have to think Ellen, she has like 77 jobs and TV shows and things that she does.
Ellen's just the face of a giant operation that happens under her umbrella.
Which is the problem on both sides.
Right.
Because it's, okay, well, yeah, it's the Ellen DeGeneres show, but there's 50 bajillion producers and blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, it's the Ellen DeGeneres show. It's your show.
Right.
So,
and you have complete control over.
And you have to take some sort of accountability. And I don't see her as being a person who instructs a producer to tell the guest to not talk. Don't look me directly in the eye. Like, that's been one of the things, because that's just a weird gaslighting control thing coming from a producer.
But suppose even if that was the case, there are many stars that do that. And why are we suddenly feeling the need to just it feels like a witch hunt where with some truth in it. It sounds like the producers were over the line. It sounds like that's part of the culture in that industry anyways, and I would not be shocked if it was. But it just feels weird. It's like, of all the people that we're going to round up and do this to, there's nobody. So are we going to do a thorough examination of every single show now? Who else is doing this?
Well, I think right now is a time where we are taking the time to examine those shows and correct a lot of behavior.
I think for whatever reason, I think that it just irks me that it's her. I guess, but just based on what her story what I'm saying is she should have the right to be an asshole just like everybody else. I don't want that to be the case, but it feels like she shouldn't be held to some extra double standard that she can't do that.
My issues has never been with she might be an asshole. Like, guess what? Have some of y'all met me on a certain day? Because I can be an asshole. That's just how we are.
Yeah.
My issue is if there is a systematic issue within your team that is causing people to feel like they're being judged because of their sexual orientation, because they're a female, because of their race, that is something that you need to, as the face of it, be, excuse my language, be f***ing aware of what's going on and take charge, fire people, hold people accountable, and create a better working environment, because people are going there to work for Ellen because Ellen is so rad and she does have a great story and she's done so much good stuff for people. But then imagine going and working there and your producer is like, oh, hey, I'm going to make fun of you because you're gay and you're not going to get this job that you should get because you're black.
And
correct.
That's a problem.
You're right.
If a producer can fire someone over having chipped painted fingernails, like Ellen can fire someone for racial.
What? Was that part of it?
Yeah, it's a real story.
What is it?
Yeah, she was a waitress at the restaurant that Ellen was at, and she wrote a bad review about her. Ellen wrote a bad review about this waitress because apparently she had chipped fingernails, and Ellen told her boss, like, you should fire this girl because she had chipped fingernails. That's really extremely unprofessional. Really
At
bad.
a restaurant that you went to?
This is allegedly. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, that's weird.
But I feel the same way Jen does, and pretty much everyone else kind of touched on how I feel was like, it's understandable. It's okay to, like, not be friendly. No one's asking that of you. No one's asking you to smile. No one's asking you to, like, treat me like I'm a princess or anything like that. But there is a sense and level of respect that you should treat people with. And when things become like derogatory, like Jen was saying, when it's like an issue with race and sexuality, that's when, it needs to be addressed. That's when that's when it makes you being an asshole not okay.
I've read stories about Dave Letterman, when he would walk in the hallway, he demanded everyone else leave that hallway immediately. I just think those days of those giant ego trips of these stars, it's over, because with social media, I mean, it's another big example. Like, you aren't as big of a star as you think you are.
Right.
Nobody is. At the end of the day, you are an equal person to everybody else. So I just think these expectations of these stars, it's something that's shifting in our culture. And with that, the old culture and the new culture are colliding in this weird way. And this is why we hear stories like this.
And the whole need for people to cancel people and destroy them. Like, look, have I looked back at clips of Ellen and they're not good because they're borderline racist? Or, yeah, but that's just stupid humor. And you have to, and this is with anyone, any actor that's been a jerk or done something stupid. For the most part, people just need to educate themselves and learn to be better people.
Yeah.
Like, no one's out the gates a perfect person. I've done some messed up stuff, but I've learned that some of the things I have done in my past maybe aren't great. And I have educated myself and I've learned from that.
Even in a medium like working in radio, things that were okay maybe 10 years ago aren't okay today.
Yeah, I mean, you go to a radio station in the 70s, their stack of tickets are in the drawer next to the pile of cocaine. Like, that's old school radio.
Yeah.
So I made that post. I made a post about it, and the post I made on my socials was basically making the points that I'm making here. Okay, so it got shared by
Ellen DeGeneres.
It got shared by a jock I know in Chicago, and she's very involved in the rock scene there. I don't think she's on a rock station there anymore. She might even be in Atlanta now, but she was in Chicago for a while. Anyways, she's very successful. Her name's Lindsay. On her post, her share, and then also back on my original post, this guy, Zach Myers, comments. And he's got a little blue check mark next to his name. And it says, listen, she's not a pedophile. She doesn't traffic children. But I can certainly say firsthand, she's a super mean person. If you're not Bradley Cooper / Brad Pitt level star, basically F you and anyone who looks like you. I still don't dislike her. Meaning, even though she treated him that way, she's still like, he doesn't dislike her. But I can say this firsthand with about 24 of my friends who have been on her show. So I'm like, Zach Myers, who's that? Oh, it's Zach, the guitarist from Shinedown, just like giving me a second chance, commenting on my post. Anybody know?
I don't know what
Nobody's
Shinedown is.
I do.
Sometimes goodbye is a second chance.
Oh God.
What's the other one?
Don't are they the ones that do the really good cover of Careless Whisper?
No, that's not them. That's Seether.
Caesar, yes.
Is Caesar the one who also did Simple Man, or
No,
was
Shinedown does
just
Simple Man.
Okay.
Shinedown is a very good rock band, and he is the guitarist for that rock band, and he's just commenting on my Ellen DeGeneres posts.
Hey.
But
You made it.
but he says he still doesn't dislike her.
Exactly. And I feel like that spoke to my point.
Have you ever met someone that you really liked that maybe didn't treat you right that you still like?
Yes.
Oh.
Have I ever had a star treat me and my squad badly, and then we still have to play that star every single day
Yeah.
and talk about that person?
And act like you're best friends?
But see, I wasn't
Yes.
a fan.
Yeah.
And I'm still not a fan.
Yeah. I was. Yeah.
Some celebrities are jerks. It's just the way it is.
And I
man.
guess, yeah, that's, you just sort of have to know that. So we can wrap up, but I just wanted to get that out there. It was on my mind this week, and I was curious how you guys thought.
Sorry, I didn't know who Shinedown was.
I can't believe you didn't know. who
I'll burn you a
Shinedown was, dude.
CD.
Can
Make
you
you a
please?
mixtape.
Can you like put half and half with like all Smash Mouth or something?
Smash Mouth. Imagine being willing to die to go see Smash Mouth live.
Oh God.
And that's a topic for another podcast.
Madness made the book on pain. Mine is still here to explain.
Thanks for listening to the Inside Froggy 92.9 podcast. We're out of here.
Bye.
Inside Froggy 92.9 with Jen, Dano, and Amber and Tanner in the morning. Hit subscribe now if you haven't already, and stay up to date with the team on Instagram or Facebook. Follow at Froggy929. Inside Froggy 92.9 from Amaturo Sonoma Media Group.